In this video, we're going to talk about strange things that have happened in hotels. I think you're going to enjoy this one. Hi everybody, it's Joe time. Actually, it's not really Joe time. This is just a cup of water today, but I like drinking out of my Joe time mug, so I'm going to introduce it that way anyway. I'm Mark. This is the Average Me channel. If you're new to the channel, I'm going to ask that you click my face in the corner to subscribe and ring that bell icon up above so you know when I post new videos. In light of what's happening right now across the country and throughout the world, there's not a lot of travel going on. So I thought that I would share some kind of lighthearted stories that have happened to me and friends and colleagues of mine as it relates to hotel rooms. Now, these aren't going to be really gross. They're not going to be really disgusting. So you can watch them, but there might be a few queasy moments. Let's just put it that way. The first story is just kind of a fun one. It doesn't relate directly to hotels, but I had some business in the Dallas area. And for those of you who aren't regular watchers of the channel, I live in Wisconsin. So typically I would fly. But what happened in this instance, I have a close friend that I haven't seen in a long time, and he lives in Iowa. And he's in the entertainment business. And we got to talking. We thought, well, this might be a fun road trip, kind of connect, spend a little time together. And we decided we were going to road trip down, and he booked some shows along the way to kind of pay for the trip. So although it might only be a day or two journey to Dallas, we took it a little more casually, so we spent several days on the road. And the first thing we did at the time, I don't know if we rented or he or me, but I had a minivan at the time, whether it was mine or a rental, I don't recall. So we set up a couple of cots, and we were going to spend some nights, actually sleeping in this I know, crazy, but that's what we did. And so we would go to a town, and he would do some shows, and then we would, pull into what have you, a truck stop or rest area, and we would get into these cots, and we would sleep for the night. And you can wash up because truck stops do have for $5 or $6, they have, shower areas we can go and you can clean up. It's nothing I would ever do again, but it was an interesting experience. And during that trip, a couple of nights we did stay in hotels, but we wanted to do this on the cheap. Not because we couldn't afford it, but just to make an adventure out of it. So we stayed in some of the cheapest motels you can imagine. And I remember one night, it was kind of scary. It was loud and raucous, and there were a lot of bikers outside our door. It was the motel, the old-fashioned one that opened right up into the parking lot. I couldn't wait for that night to end. But the rest of the stories I'm going to share with you are stories that occurred in more reputable, in many cases, name brand hotels. The first story I'm going to tell you is the story of my friend and colleague, Jerry. And a lot of my friends are in the same business I am. Let's just say we do consulting. That's what takes me on the road so much. And Jerry was staying at a hotel. It was a chain hotel. I don't remember what it was. If it was, a Marriott or a Holiday Inn or a Hilton, I don't recall. Really irrelevant. But he was sound asleep, and something woke him up. He thought he was feeling something on him. And he turned on the light, and there was a mouse running around on top of the blankets while he was sleeping. So he got out of bed, and I'm thinking, what would the average person do with a mouse? Yell, scream, stand up on the chair, call down to the desk and tell them there's a mouse in my room? Jerry did none of that. He went into the bathroom, he got a drinking glass, he put it over the mouse. I don't know, I guess, a room's not very big. You can probably trap him in a corner or something. I didn't get the details. But he put the cup over the mouse, and he went back to bed. Crazy, crazy story. The next one happened to a friend of mine, Brad. And this was somewhere in the southwest, Arizona, New Mexico, that area. And once again, a nice hotel. And Brad got up in the morning, and he, doing his shaving. I guess he just got out of the shower. He had a towel wrapped around him. or maybe he didn't have a towel wrapped around him at the time. I don't know. But he's looking in the mirror shaving, and he didn't have his contact lenses in yet. So he's shaving, and he sees something out of the corner of his eye sitting on the counter, something dark. And he thought, what in the world is that? He didn't remember taking anything out of his toiletry case or something. He wondered, what is it? And he walked up closer to it. It was a tarantula sitting on the counter next to the sink while he's shaving. Well, he flipped. It's funny to hear him tell this story, but he said with nothing more than a towel around him, a face half covered with shaving cream, he went running down the hall screaming, "There's a tarantula in my room! There's a tarantula in my room!" I'm imagining something out of a sitcom or Neil Simon play. He ran down to the front desk. Here he is, naked except for a towel, covered in shaving cream, saying, "There's a tarantula in my bathroom." And of course, he got someone to walk upstairs with him to handle the tarantula situation. They moved him to a different room. But it sounds funny to hear the story told. I wish I could have actually had a visual on Brad's tarantula. Now, this next story took place in a beautiful little village. Some of you may be familiar with it. It's called Sag Harbor. Sag Harbor is a really picturesque, quaint little village. It's in the Hamptons in Long Island. And if you ever see TV shows and movies, oftentimes you have probably seen Sag Harbor because there are a few landmarks. A real identifiable landmark in Sag Harbor is a windmill. It's got this old-fashioned, almost looks like it was just plopped down from Holland. And it's really a neat little town. And I had some business for a day in Sag Harbor. And to set this up, it was a holiday, well, not really a holiday weekend. It was the Sunday into the Monday before Thanksgiving. So there wasn't a lot of activity going on. I flew into LaGuardia. I got a rental car. I drove across Long Island. And it was, kind of a chilly day. There was some snow flurries in the air because it was late November. And I got to Sag Harbor, and there was a motel set up for me. And I checked into this place, and it looked really nice. There was a marina nearby, and it really looked kind of quaint and picturesque, and I was looking forward to spending a night. Now, it turns out this motel was really not set up to be a 4-season. It was really a 3-season hotel, and I got into the room, and like I said, there was a chill in the air. And I went to turn up the heat, and I realized there's no thermostat on the wall. And the only heat they had was a baseboard heater across the room. So you have a door and a window that looks out right into the outside area, the parking lot area. In this case, I could see the boats, but the boats were all in dry dock, so they're all stacked up. So it wasn't as pretty as it would have been, say, in June. And it was kind of cold because you could only get so much heat out of the baseboard heater. But then the more I looked around, had I had it to live over again, I would have immediately checked out. But at that point, I was tired. It was a long day of flying and driving. I just wanted to lay down and fall asleep and wake up in the morning and get on to my business. But the more I looked, the more gross this room looked. As I looked at the light switch, there was a big circle of grime and dirt around it where years of people reaching over and turning the light switch on and off. And the carpet was just real dirty. I looked at the bed. It seemed like the bedding was clean. So what I did is I took every towel in the place, except for maybe one towel I was going to use, and I spread them out in a little path from the bed to the bathroom. And I figured that was all I was going to do once I got ready for bed. I didn't want my feet to touch that floor, but I thought I could stay on this little path. And that's what I did. And I got, my night's sleep. It was really, really cold, really chilly. Next morning I woke up. I thought at least I can have a hot cup of coffee. And I went to the coffee maker and I opened it up, and there was someone else's old used grounds in there. And the more I looked around, the more I wondered, had this room really been serviced. And it gives you kind of the willies and kind of a queasy feeling, thinking, was I just sleeping in a bed that someone else already slept in? I tried to put it out of my head. I checked out of that hotel and I left. I only had to spend one day. Fortunately, Sag Harbor was a nice place. There were, some nice, I found a nice little restaurant, and I did enjoy the day, but that was not a pleasant experience, spending that night in that little three-season motel. So I think we'll end it there. I think those are some fun, interesting stories. I'll tell you what, life on the road, it ain't all glamour. I know a lot of times the things you see on this channel are when I get bumped up to first class and you see some of my hotel rooms and most of them look really, really nice. Or you see the visits to some of the theme parks and I'm in the Disney hotels. But there are just as many nights when I stay in, that hotel that you wonder if they rent by the hour, or I've had to sleep on the hard, cold floor of the airport terminal. I'll tell you about my Philadelphia experience someday. But for now, I think we'll call this one done. As always, I encourage you to like and share the videos. Leave your comments down below. If you haven't already, please subscribe by clicking my face in the corner. And don't forget to ring that bell icon so you know when I post new videos. Thanks for watching, everyone. I'm Mark, and this is the Average Me channel.